So I'm Andrew Schrumm. I'm Senior Manager of Research with RBC Thought Leadership Group.
So one of the things that you have been focusing on is the future of work as well as higher education and how it impacts innovation. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now in 2020 because these are unusual times.
Absolutely. We started the year at a point when ed tech and students were operating at very different levels. We saw maybe 1 in 5 students doing hybrid learning. We saw maybe 1 in 20 doing fully online. And what we saw was ed tech investment had grown about 14 times over the 2010s, but it only reached about 2%, maybe 1.5%, 2% of global education spending. All that, obviously, with COVID collided. And those two forces we're seeing now have to work together. And what we've been trying to think about in our group is how do you design an education system? How do you think about the future of learning that's not just a mishmash of the two? It can't just be in class. It can't just be online. When you think about hybrid learning, it's not A plus B. It's really C. It's doing something different and doing something better.
So some people may think, okay, I know RBC, I know them as a financial
Yeah.
institution. Why do they care about the future of learning? What would you say to those people?
Well, I think about that in a couple different ways. As an institution, we have a footprint in pretty well every community across the country, and we're very invested in the prosperity of Canadians, Canadian households, and the livelihood of the future. We're also one of the biggest employers across the country. So we have a vested interest there of making sure that students that come through post-secondary education have those skills. And what we keep hearing from small businesses, our clients, is that students, as they're transitioning to the workforce, face a lot of friction points. And a lot of that is that having that artificial barrier between education and employment. When you think of skills, that's the bridge that connects the two. So as RBC, we have a platform, we have an interest, and when we think about youth, the size of the youth in Canada is as big as the baby boomer generation. They may take up a little bit less of percentage-wise, but we've got 7 million kids coming through the system right now. So we got to get this right.
It's interesting, too. Some people may not know that RBC has a pretty robust internship program. And I know from the stats that I can see that I have here, there were about 1,100 students online just this summer. What did that look like?
It was different, so it started in the spring. So our team's about 400 of students in the spring term got instantly removed from the workplace, and that was very disruptive for them, obviously. But our summer program is really where we have a number of different exciting programs and more students in, and obviously with the school year. So we had, as you said, 1,100 students that had all that uncertainty going through March, through getting offers from RBC, to think about where are they going to live, what are they going to do, who are they going to work with come the summer, because all that was very uncertain. So as an institution, we wanted to make sure that we were providing good information, good workflow, and really exciting opportunities, because we feel that's been the distinguisher for RBC in its proposition for summer students. It's doing something different. And you think about those 1,100 students, only a fraction of them are co-op students. So not all of them are just getting credit for that. A lot of students are doing this as part of their own career planning. So it's important that they had that security and understanding of what this summer might look like. We couldn't do some of our exciting programs. We couldn't do some of our incubator programs that we do with students just by factor of the realities. But what we were able to do was think about how we hire students differently, because we could hire more students from across the country, hire them from different disciplines, to think about where they could plug into teams that wouldn't have a student in the past. So it's really opened our eyes to the possibilities of engaging in a distributed workforce, whether it's students or professional employees.
We met years ago at a Future of Work event. And when you talk about students, one of the things I immediately think about is the future of work, and how I think what we're seeing is that we have to embrace this idea of lifelong learning, and it has to be integrated throughout the career path. How do you see the future of work and how learning plays a role?
It's critical. And it doesn't start at post-secondary. It starts well before that. We think about the different opportunities we give our young people through high school, through elementary, exposing them to different careers. We've been thinking a lot about the skilled trades. And people rule out the skilled trades instantly when they go to post-secondary. But if you engage those kids with STEM, if you engage them with hands-on learning in grade 8, grade 9, they're open to a whole new world of possibilities. So, we've made this huge investment in RBC's Future Launch, which is a network of community partners that we work with to inspire youth, to engage them with career planning, because a lot of kids don't think about what their career is going to look like. On the lifelong learning, what we've seen specifically with the changing nature of work, it's not about technology necessarily. Certainly we need to be able to upskill ourselves with the latest software, the latest way of connecting tools. But what we need to be able to do as people are changing jobs, and that's what we see in our Humans Wanted report, is the future of work is pivoting. It is being able to transfer those skills from one career in one industry to another in a very different field. So we need to be able to think about how we integrate the colleges, the universities, the polytechnics, all the apprenticeship programs that we have in the country to not just be for those 18 to 25-year-olds. We need to be thinking about how we create those experiences as people are pivoting throughout their career.
From your experience, when we look at the future of institutions, particularly higher ed institutions, what is the competition going to be like over the course of the next couple of years?
Well, let's just think about what happened this year. Globally, we had about 1.6 billion with a B, students who were disrupted from their learning this year. What happened? A lot of them went to online, a lot of them went to private tutors, a lot of them went to different forms of learning to finish their school year. The stakes have really changed now for higher learning. Online is definitely one big part of that, and we've been trying to think about that through the work that we're doing. But I think what the big message is for institutions as they navigate these next few years, universities and colleges have an exciting opportunity to create more personalized education, to be able to certify someone's work integrated learning opportunity, to certify their past skill sets, to certify any number of skills acquisition that they've been doing, to ladder that up into certifications, into diplomas, so that kids have a way to navigate their education the way they want to. A la carte learning is I think, really the future of what learning is going to look like.
When we talk about all of these learning changes, how do we measure the impact of these changes, and how do we know when they're successful or not?
That's a great question, and I think we as a country, we struggle with that. We need better handle on our labor market data. We rate ourselves on how well educated we are, what industries we are, but we don't do a great job of measuring our skills, and certainly on skills acquisition. What we do and on our data teams, we have to use jobs as a proxy for skills and not understanding what skills are really out there. So what we've been trying to do is work with our partners, whether they be business councils or with universities and colleges, is think about how we're assessing skills acquisition, both in school, both in early learning, so that we're able to better map where are these skill sets and how are people able to learn them best. And that's, I think, a big challenge for us to go forward and really would be able to provide us better forward planning when we think about how to structure our economy, how to structure entrepreneurship, so that we have the right skill sets available at our disposal.
Knowing that right now you're speaking to an audience of people online who are all keen on understanding the future of learning, and knowing your role at RBC and all the data that you've been able to collect over the past years, and knowing what's happening in 2020, what is that one piece of advice that you want to share with our audience today?
Gosh, it's a very confusing time. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of resilience, especially among youth. We think about all the uncertainty that they went through at the end of the school year last year, a heck of a lot of uncertainty going through the summer of understanding what was going to happen the next year. These are skills. These are things that they are acquiring along the way. Resilience, perseverance, these are workplace valued skills. And if they're able to demonstrate the way that they're navigating this uncertainty, I think is a really strong asset that they bring both to the workplace, to challenge the way that institutions are running, to think about disruption. It's not about, what, it's about the how. And I think this next generation is going to come in with a lot of new ideas of how we work differently, how we interact differently, what technology we're taking on. So I think it's a really exciting time for young people to think about challenging a bit of the status quo when it comes to institutions and how they work.
Well, listen, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today.
Great, thank you. It was a pleasure.